Hi, this is John, the drummer for CEPHALIC CARNAGE, and you're listening to What's Metal.
All right, so we all in our team and all our listeners like Cephalic Carnage, but we have featured your band very few times until now. So maybe it would be cool if you can briefly sum up your band history and what you released so
The band was started in like '92. The guitarist Zach and the singer Leonard are pretty much the only original members from then. That with the old lineup, they put out one demo called "Scrape Your Lungs" or "Scrape My Lungs," and then like right around '96, me and Steve joined the band, and the whole lineup changed. And then we recorded Fortuitous Oddity a couple months after getting into the band, and then got signed to Italy's Headfucker Records. Did Conforming to Abnormality in '98, and then hooked up with Relapse. Did Exploiting Dysfunction in late '99, and then we just did a split with Anoblast, and our part of it's called Perversion and the Guilt After. It's like 17 and a half minutes of grindcore. And then we recorded a mini disc for Willowtip. It's called Halls of Amenti. It's a 19-minute long Doom song. And then the latest full length for Relapse, which just came out in August of 2002, which is Lucid Interval.
so the so the stuff you released with Relapse is widely available. What about the stuff you did before? Is that still somewhere to get, or are you planning to re-release it somewhere? Or
Yeah, we re-released Conforming to Abnormality, which was the album that Headfucker did. They did like 7,000 print, and then they ended up going bust, but we own the rights to it. So we just started our own label recently called Hybrid Records, and that's our first release is the repress of Conforming. We touched up the layout a little bit. We might do the demo in future days. We got some other stuff coming out too. Some old represses of some Colorado bands and friends of ours that got something going in the early 90s but ended up breaking up, but the band still put out some good recordings, so just because we own the rights to Conforming, and we figure if we're going to put it out, with all the touring that we do, we can network it enough so it's somewhat available to people. We're getting our website arranged so we can do mail order with our merchandise and all that too, because we have our own merchandise company. We have a silkscreen company. We do almost all of our own merchandise ourselves. So it's just a better way for us to get the stuff out to people and make a little more money doing it.
The rights for your old songs so that you can re-release or something
Yeah.
like
The first album we do.
Yeah.
The stuff on Relapse we don't, but that's fine because they do a good enough job of pushing that stuff anyway.
okay, so your music goes beyond death metal, and for compared to typical grindcore, it's very uh, extra. It's very extravaganza stuff. So it's well, where do you get your inspiration from? Is it well, maybe just drugs or a certain form of lifestyle, or
It has to do with the form of lifestyle, living in Denver, being close to the mountains, pretty unpredictable weather. There's just a lot of different scenarios to be in every day in Colorado, whether you're going up to the mountains to hang out or whatever. Um, all the good weed that we smoke definitely influences our music. And all of us have been into metal forever, but we've experienced other styles over the past like 6 or 7 years. So we brought in other influences from jazz and blues and other things that we didn't discover before, when we were just diehard metalheads. So since we've been playing this style of music for so long, we wanted to just do something that's kind of fresh. It's hard to do the same thing over and over again for 10 years.
what are your impressions of Germany or Europe in general when compared to the States, maybe?
There's a lot more diehard fans out here, it seems like. It's like metal never died the way it did in the States in the mid 90s. It's pretty cool. We're looking forward to coming back and doing an entire tour for sure.
How is your local scene? Are there any bands coming up that are worth a mention?
Uh, Local scene in Denver is kind of up and down. It's more of a sports town really than music, but I don't know.
There's a few.
This is Patrick, our bassist.
What's going on?
Introduce yourself.
Patrick, bass player for Cephalic Carnage, since like February or so. There's Excommunion from Denver. They're good. I don't know, Catheter were a grind band, but they just broke up. But for the most part, there's a lot of new metal bands like Slipknot type bands, and they all really suck. But overall, band called Silencer. They're a thrash band. They're really good. That's about it, really. Those are the main bands.
When have you been confirmed for the Faxe Commerce Festival?
When? February sometime, late February is when we found out we were doing it for sure. But we've been talking about doing it since January or December. But yeah, we got the final word in February that we were doing it.
Was it just by having contact with the organizing staff, or have you been in contact with any European bands before?
We've been in contact with some European bands, but it was the organizing staff that made it happen, and they worked with Relapse, our label, because like other Relapse bands have played, like Dying Fetus has played before, Skinless. So I mean, between the label and us, we, and the organizing staff for the festival, they made it happen.
So our show is called What's Metal? So what does metal mean to you? Is it a form of music, a certain form of lifestyle? So what is combined with metal?
For us, it's definitely a lifestyle with all the touring that we do. Spend 200 days a year living it every day, Definitely style of music, but I think it's becoming more and more open-ended. More and more things can be pulled into it to keep it interesting, and more genres I think are going to start blending in the future and be more accepted, like with the stuff that we're doing, I don't know. That's about it. Like 10 years of my life's metal.
I don't know. I definitely think it's a way of life. I mean, it is for me. I mean, I've been into this, into metal for a long time since I was a kid. And, I always get excited when new records come out. I get excited going to shows. Festivals like this are awesome. I get to see a bunch of bands I like. Yeah, I live for it, and yeah, and all the touring and, playing playing different bands and stuff. It's definitely a lifestyle, All my friends, or not all my friends, but, hang out with all the metal guys and go to all the shows together. Live and breathe it, wear it,
So what are your favorites that are playing on this festival this year?
I don't know, that band from Israel, I cannot remember their name. Yeah, those guys were really good. Rotten Sound's pretty killer. Boarded was really good. Hate Plow from last night. I don't know. Most of the time when I'm at a fest like this, though, I spend more time talking to people than watching tons of bands because it gets kind of, do this so much, it gets kind of old. There's definitely bands to look out for, that we try to watch. It was cool to get to check out a Boarded set.
Rotten Sound was the one I was looking forward to the most. I think those guys are killer. I was really impressed with the Boarded. I'd never heard them until today. Yeah, how do you say that? Live, the Israeli band, Lehavat. Yeah, I was really impressed with those guys. I don't know, Hate Plow was definitely awesome, but Misery Index is a great band too. I like those guys a lot. I'm glad they made it out here to play. We get along with them really well, and they're a killer band. So
you as a drummer are already preparing right now for the show. Maybe you just can tell our listeners what is important for a drummer to prepare for a live show when you're playing such a fast stuff. Because I think a lot of the people or a lot of the listeners really don't have a clue about preparing for a live show.
I do a lot of stretching, usually for about an hour or so before we play. I make sure that my forearms are nice and stretched. Warm up with some sticks. Just do some double bass patterns. Just get the blood flowing. Make sure that my body's loose and ready to go up and do it. Can hurt yourself, or I just don't play as good if I don't. The first 4 songs or so are a little bit struggle because I'm not at the warmed up point yet, so I'd rather just be ready to go when I hit the stage. Pretty much just lots of stretching. Fuck around with the sticks for a while.
What's your situation before a live show?
I don't make sure my gear's working. Batteries in your pedals, that kind of dumb shit. Yeah, and I stretch a lot. I mean, the cephalic performance is pretty physical too, I mean, we're not just standing there, just with our thumb up our asses, like, we're jumping around and moving. So I stretch, make sure I don't, pull a muscle or something. And I warm up my fingers, I'll get my bass and, just make sure, yeah, like John says, just make sure the blood's flowing, make sure, my picking hand's ready to go and my fret hand, get all the kinks out, that kind of thing. Make sure I'm awake. Red Bull, that sort of thing.
Coffee, weed. He doesn't smoke. All of us get pretty stoned before play. I don't recommend it for anybody, but it works for us.
So how's the situation in the rehearsal room? Is it the same thing before a live show, or is it is it more of a friendly atmosphere, or is it more hate filled or crazy stuff? I don't know. Man, just tell us.
The van's more hate filled. The practice space is everybody's got lots of weed, so we just get lots of stoned, you know. Everybody's got time to warm up, mess around with their gear, and just jam if we're writing new stuff or just work on the set that we're getting ready to do if we're going to have a tour coming up. And printing t-shirts because it's in the same space. So,
Yeah, it's relaxed in the rehearsal studio, nothing too, yeah, we just go down there and jam. I don't really warm up for anything before rehearsal. It's just kind of,
When you do a headlining show in the States, how many people show up?
ah, like it depends on the area. I mean, we could have turnouts like 500 or 600, or we could have turnouts of like 100. So it depends on where we're at in the country. Like the West Coast and the South, we're definitely stronger in that area. So between like 200 to 400, I'd say.
yeah. How many showed up to that Easter Sunday show we did? There's a good amount of people there. Yeah. So yeah, right around there.
Another show in Denver, there was like over 700 people. It's just kind of up and down. Denver's kind of unpredictable. You can have a show and have like close to 1,000 people, and then do the same thing a couple months later and have 200 people. You know.